In Mike's tired old features there was a look of amusement as he told me his story. It was as though he was laughing at the world. He'd found a way to fool everyone, and telling me about it somehow made it all even sweeter. Like the soldier coming back from the war, with fresh scars and weary from battle, he had one piece of treasure, a gold-studded goblet. A trophy that he knew he'd have to relinquish and sell, but a trophy nonetheless. Something smuggled and hidden and won by guile. Showing that goblet held a strange satisfaction. Mike's revelations were, for him, like displaying that goblet. The treasured memory being more valuable than the relatively easily obtained financial rewards. In session after session, Mike's story unravelled. The disappointment of his first marriage, the insistent obsession with never going back to jail, the resentment towards his father, and most of all, the need to create a cash cow that would provide for him, so he need never fear poverty or being alone again. The end, for Mike, justified the means. Any means. And where the hell was Mum? Look into anyone's life in enough detail and their paths begin to become predictable. As the detail builds up, the track becomes increasingly obvious. It's like joining the dots. After leaving his home, Mike was out on the street for a while. There was a little drug use, though at the time I don't think it was that serious, more indicative of the start of problems than anything else. He then returned to Canada and fell in with a tough group of young adults. It was only a matter of time before someone was going to prison. If you put a few individuals in a lineup and ask yourself which one's going to spend 3 years inside, anyone would end up choosing Mike. He was hardened, resentful, poorly educated, and violently opposed to authority. With no family support and no money, when he got himself into trouble, he ended up spending 3 years in jail. A full term, no remission. I think the charge was dealing, but it could have been any number of other things. By the time he came out, he had only one thought in his head, and that was that, whatever else happened, he would never let himself go to prison again. He subsequently got a lot more careful, increasingly distrustful, and learned how to make sure that if police really wanted a conviction, they'd get one, and it wouldn't be him. In short, prison refined Mike's education and did nothing more. Later he started trading guns as well as drugs, before finally making enough to step out of the high-risk business of dealing. By the time Mike came through my door, he had been financing narcotics deals for years, but hadn't done anything hands-on for a long time. This was just as well. He had just become a new father and wanted to turn all that black money into money he could actually use. Ludicrous as it sounds, he had a fortune in cash, but struggled to make his mortgage payments, because his legitimate income was very small. He could keep making more and more illegal money, but because he couldn't account for where his money came from, he had to watch how he spent every cent, otherwise Revenue Canada would be breathing down his neck. The path was, to a large degree, determined by the time his mother left the house when he was a child. Is this fate? No, not really. There is a branch of philosophy that talks of determinism, and this falls into that category. There were occasional opportunities for Mike to make a quantum leap and change the increasingly inevitable outcome. But if those opportunities passed untaken, Mike's path was set. And what about free will? Yeah, what about it? Free will is a luxury many people don't enjoy. Kill the kitten, I'll give you $100, says the man. Bugger off, I reply. Kill the kitten, and I'll give you $100, and I won't kill your dog. So much for free will. Sadly for most people, free will leaves the picture as vulnerability and poverty come into the frame. In Mike's case, there was no shortage of either. You don't spend 40 years in the drug business without picking up a few scars. And not all of those scars are going to be physical. The physical ones are the easy ones, the ones that can be patched up. The deeper ones are the psychological ones. The scars associated with continuing rejection of a father, a girlfriend dying from an overdose of drugs he'd supplied, the stress of business deals gone bad, a small matter of getting rid of a body and wondering if it ever got found. These things weigh heavy on the mind. Using hypnosis, it's quite easy to see why some things happen. For instance, a man with a raging temper who loses control at the mall during the last-minute Christmas shopping. As you watch him rail and rant at some hapless shopper, keep in mind that he's probably simply acting out the same behaviour that served him so well when he was a toddler and his mother said, "No, you can't have that, Tommy." His tantrum resulted in her caving in and giving him the candy, all those years ago. So now, when the wife just doesn't feel like being as amorous as he feels, guess who's going to have a tantrum? When his daughter's grades are not as impressive as he'd have hoped, he has only one way to deal with it. And why not? After all, each time it works, it simply reinforces his belief that it's a viable way to do things. As in so many cases, the lessons learned in childhood become the way people behave in later life, even if it is entirely inappropriate. It's hard to be critical of this. We do what we do because of how we are. Unfortunately, we are unable to choose how we are. That falls to parents, environment, and just plain luck. We can see it out there every day. It's there in the way we deal with lovers, our self-image, and what we define as success. A neglecting father teaches his daughter to crave attention, and so she does in the arms of her many lovers. The chubby boy told he was a fat and useless child by an unkind parent will often grow up with poor self-image and a lack of confidence. The workaholic parent often creates a child who grows up to believe success equates to financial gain and cannot figure out why relationship after relationship ends unhappily. As I continue to work with Mike, we worked through 40 years of garbage that had been influencing him this way or that, and things fell into place nice and quickly. He was working hard at getting himself sorted out. A model client. "So come on, Mike, let's look at some of those beliefs you've picked up," I would say. "It's embarrassing," he'd reply. "Not as embarrassing as continuing to act them out, which is precisely what you'll do if we don't address them." "Yeah, I get that." "Okay, so say them. Just try it. You'll find it feels okay once you try it. But it makes me feel kind of stupid." "You are kind of stupid," I replied. "We all are. Here, I'll give you a start." I thought for a moment. Then I continued. "I'm afraid of the dark. I don't like what the dentist is going to do to me. I like breasts. Big ones. Women with big breasts make great girlfriends. Mustard sucks. Nigerians steal, and I would never ride an American motorcycle." I paused. Mike was laughing.